Howdy everyone. I tricked you. We're talking about Marathon. Recently, Marathon has been getting a bit of a mixed reception. Well, kind of. I say kind of because Marathon has actually been reviewing pretty well, all things considered. People who play it like it, and in general, it seems like a very positive reception. But I wouldn't say that the reactions to it have been overall positive. People saying that the game is dead on arrival, being weird on socials, hating something that they haven't played, that kind of thing. Now trust me, I understand where the mixed feelings are coming from. The hate, however, is a bit of a different story, but I'll get to that. Let me admit right now that I'm probably not the best person to talk about this game. I've mostly occupied myself with single-player games. Most of my reviews consist of games that are focused on the singular rather than, the group. The one time I made a video talking about multiplayer games was about extraction shooters, way back when, and what I liked about them. It's a bad video, please don't watch it. So here I am, sitting here trying to write about a game type that I generally don't like, at least have mixed feelings towards. But I can't help but notice what people are saying, and I kinda have a problem with it. I normally don't like to throw around the phrase, you shouldn't talk about the game unless you played it, because in all honesty, I don't think that's a good thing to throw around. There's a lot you can tell about a game from gameplay, word of mouth, and other aspects that don't include actually playing the game. Sure, some context might be missing. You kinda have to take someone's word for it when it comes to how the game feels, how maps feel, and the general vibe you get as the player. But I feel both of these are important perspectives to have, and it's not really productive to label one as serious criticism while the other isn't, especially when money is on the line. Besides, that's basically what reviews are, people telling you what the game is like. Even though you have no real idea what the game feels like to play, you kind of have to take their word for it and assume, based off of that review, if that's something that you want to play. With all that said, I want you guys to keep that in mind when it comes to this. I like Marathon, and I give it a good recommendation. If you like these kinds of games, if you're into extraction shooters, this one's pretty good. If you like PvPvE games, this one's pretty good. If you like the general aesthetic and design of the game, and the gunplay seems fun, give it a try. I understand that these games aren't for everyone though. Very few games of this type actually are able to capture like a broad audience. Arc Raiders is kind of the exception, because it's more geared towards a casual audience with how matchmaking works. In general, if you're a casual player, then you'll be paired with other casuals who aren't going to be a bunch of sweaty assholes, for lack of a better word. Marathon is not like Arc Raiders, however. Sure, people will still chat in the game from time to time, but they aren't the friendly community that I've mainly seen in Arc Raiders. That's mainly because extraction shooters, by their very nature, are kinda competitive. When there is a large risk-reward for something, it's going to bring in the people who enjoy that thrill and the rush of besting overwhelming odds with everything on the line. But the lower the risk, the lower the competitive nature of its players, and in turn, the more casual a game's audience will become. Extraction shooters have always struggled with this. That's why they could never replace battle royales, really. They don't do anything for the large majority of players because there's just too much risk involved in playing them. It's intimidating, it's scary, leading to a smaller than usual player count. Mix that with a more competitive player base, and due to a lack of a large player pool to dilute the no-lifers, most of the people playing will be more competitive because there isn't enough average skilled players to dilute the pool. That being said, with the exception of Arc Raiders, I do believe that Marathon is a good stepping point for people to actually get into these kinds of games. Death is honestly rather forgiving. Obviously, if you die, you lose everything on you and everything you brought in with you. But there are upgrades you can use to make your experience easier that you get to keep. You almost always have free loadouts and kits, and they're something that I've abused the shit out of to help me get some quests done. Rarity of guns doesn't increase damage, but just shows the quality of the attachments on the firearm, and they aren't exactly hard to get. The map is loaded with easy money, and it tells you where to find every single item for upgrades. Besides, if you don't want to risk anything, then just play as Rook. Rook is one of the many shells you have access to in the game, and with a few drawbacks, he's kind of the best. Then you can just run in and loot to your heart's content. Sure, you might not get to keep everything that Rook gets, because some of it gets destroyed on extract, but he's still really fun to play as. Also, I love robot characters that talk like this, so it's, still a win-win for me.
Perhaps today is the day.
Speaking of the characters, I really like them. I really enjoy how the art style has kind of developed into itself and makes the characters look. I do want to say that I haven't played any of them except for Thief, my queen, Triage, my bro, and of course Rook, my king. The characters that I've played feel unique and all stand apart from each other with their own playstyles. Thief is very much a looting character with a drone that can steal items without ever even stepping into the buildings herself. Hell, you can even take stuff away from other players' inventories. You can also get a scan that shows you lootable containers and the rarity of items in said containers. Also, she has a grappling hook, which automatically makes her a 10 out of 10 character. Triage is definitely more of a team-focused character, but you can still get some good mileage out of him. He has this little drone. I love him. He's perfect, and it breaks my heart when he dies. I blame myself generally. He also has an ability where he can kind of overclock his gun to make them perform better. His main ability makes it so that he instantly revives teammates, but you can't really use that if you're like me and have no friends. Yippee! Another drone! And that's just the 2 characters out of the 6 that you have access to. Sure, they might not all be winners, but they're all unique and provide their own identity and play styles. The AI in the game isn't necessarily easy to fight. You actually kind of need to think a little bit and plan when it comes to the higher level ones. Normal cannon fodder enemies are easy enough to kill, until there's a bunch of them. One is throwing 3 grenades at you. Hold on, there's a fucking giant ass bug that just flew in here. Oh my god, it's gone. I'm in a dark room. Where the fuck did it go? I don't see it. I don't know where it is. Dude, I'm scared. My drink is open. My drink is open, and I'm worried he might have tried to fly in there. I don't think he flew in there. Okay, I'm gonna shut that off, and hopefully I can get him at some point. I have my beanie. I'm just gonna fucking, like, smack his ass if he comes into frame. Dude, he was like I don't know what the fuck he was. He was some kind of insect. That was crazy. AI in the game isn't easy to fight. You actually need to kind of think a little bit and plan when it comes to the higher level ones. The normal cannon fodder enemies are easy enough to kill, until there's a bunch of them. One is throwing 3 grenades at you, and the biggest one is pushing you with a giant shield, only for an invisible one to rush you and mag dump your ass. Don't get me wrong, they're not smart. If it's just one, then you don't really need to think too hard, but if you trip an alarm and reinforcements come, then you might be in a bit of a pickle if you are not prepared. If you are prepared, then you gain access to more loot. If you aren't, then there's still plenty of options and opportunities when it comes to objectives and loot around the map. And regardless, you could still complete these things. It's just going to be a little harder with your base kit if you come in with like something free or, generally you're unprepared. Completed quests gives you access to more equipment. By leveling up traders, you gain access to even more stuff, including daily free goodies that are better than you would think it would be when it comes to free shit. There's almost always a free kit that gives you gun, ammo, and meds and stuff. Plus, if you know where to look, you can get some pretty good stuff to replace your shitty stuff. Also, if you don't like looting buildings and containers, then you probably won't like this game. See, the one thing that Hunt Showdown has over a lot of extraction shooters is it's not really loot focused, it's PvP focused. You can't really play Hunt without engaging with other players. Even if you are careful and avoid people, eventually you will have to fight them for the bounty. In this, you can rat to your heart's content. However, if you do get into a fight, then you'll be happy to know the gunplay is good, satisfying and rewarding. Guns feel good to shoot, and the animations for them are great as well. I love the designs of the firearms in this game. I know a lot of people didn't like Marathon's look when it first came out, but I gotta say, I've never disagreed more when it comes to a design and aesthetic. The phrase function over form turned up to 11. Bright colors, instructions laid out everywhere to get the point. Oh my god. Bright colors, instructions laid out everywhere to get the point across in the most efficient way possible. Ugly but practical buildings. The guns show this off tenfold with harsh angles, grips that look uncomfortable to hold, and overall design of the guns are just weird and wacky and blocky, and I love it. The music is so fucking vibey. I'm not really sure what to call it, but it's almost like this nerdy, techie, trancy stuff. It's so fun to listen to when you're just vibing to it and then all of a sudden a voice just shows up out of nowhere. It fits with the overall aesthetic of the game, especially when you're exploring the world. And I love how the music builds and gets more intense when you start queuing for a match. The trader design is something I love as well. There's so much here. All of them feel unique with their own corporate type of crazy. I kind of wish that there was a way for you to rewatch them. They're just So cool, especially the grub mother.
The stresses of Tau Ceti are already changing you in ways I could never foresee. You have tremendous potential. Imagine what we could accomplish if you'll allow me to nurture it.
I like your voice. People aren't liking the game. In my opinion, they're being kind of mean about it. I've seen a lot of people go out of their way to just shit on the game, specifically people saying stuff like how this is Concord 3. Look, I'm sorry if you need to hear this, but if you're calling any game Concord whatever, then I don't think you understand why that game failed and why people didn't like it. Multiplayer games have gotten a lot of flack lately, especially when it comes to live service titles, and I'll be honest, it's for good reason. People will say that they don't really like them anymore, but I don't think that's true. There are extremely popular games that exist as a live service. Team Fortress 2, World of Warcraft, Apex, Fortnite, Fallout 76, Helldivers 2, Guild Wars 2, League of Legends, Counter-Strike, Destiny, Overwatch, The Division 1 and 2, Path of Exiles 1 and 2. That's just what I could come up with on the top of my head. All of these games are live services. Hell, even games like Minecraft exist in a kind of weird live service format. Some of these games might not be your favorite. Hell, you might hate some of them. I know I do. But these are still popular titles that exist as a live service game. And I'll tell you something, the fact that Fallout 76 survived and Highguard didn't is kind of a fucking sin in my opinion. So the types of game clearly aren't the problem here. It's the practices that large companies use in tandem with live service games. Hell, these practices aren't even tied to live service titles exclusively. They exist all over the place. Over half the dev team getting fired for crunching their asses off, even when the game does succeed, games not releasing in a stable state, games dying shortly after release. Some of these games, in my opinion, didn't deserve the fate that they got. Maybe I'm crazy for thinking that Battleborn was kinda sick. And with all the titles that have died on the vine, it's fair for people to be skeptical, but you should never pray for a game's downfall. I'm gonna get a little goofy here for a second, but I genuinely firmly believe this. If you're a true gamer, right? Hard R, capital G. If you truly enjoy video games, not just playing them, but as an art form, you should be hopeful for a game and want it to succeed. Egging a game on and spreading the word that it's bad without even looking at it or yelling about how it's dying or that it's Concord 3 is just disingenuous at best, and at worst, it's counterproductive. I think it's just plain cynical to call the game that. Yeah, I understand why. I understand the skepticism. I understand the worry. But God, it's so annoying to see people who don't even care about the game just spreading shit about it for no reason at all. Because it isn't the 90s shooter you remember? It looks weird? It's an extraction shooter? Those are reasons to not want to play it. Sure, that's fine. That's understandable. But to spread word and just lie and say that the game is going to fail, that you shouldn't even bother playing it, that you should be embarrassed for making it, throwing player count in people's faces like an annoying toddler just trying to manifest the game's failure is just wrong. I don't blame people who just don't like the game, by the way. If the game is just something that you aren't interested in playing, then fine. But I see this irrational behavior from people that are just trying to stir the pot, and it's tiring. Sometimes I wish that gaming kind of stayed niche, so that the community wasn't so large. There's already so many people drama farming, living off bad vibes, and just in general being a bunch of nuisances, and what's worse is that they're kind of encouraged to do so. Again, I can't make myself clear enough. If you don't like the game, that's fine. Literally, that is perfectly fine. But I think that people should always be hoping for a game to succeed and become the best it can be, and find its player base. Maybe that's naive. Maybe that's silly of me. But I genuinely do believe that. Every game needs to be able to find its footing. And I believe it can if it gets the support that it needs. Obviously, I hope Marathon succeeds, and I think it will. The game is good, and if you like this kind of game, or like any of the gameplay that you've seen, I urge you to give it a try. The game is $40, it's 18 gigabytes, and it runs great on my machine. If you want to give it a try, I urge you to do so. It's been a fun and exciting extraction shooter, and maybe it's my new medication talking, but God, this is the first PvP game that I've played that doesn't make me want to rip my own hair out. Not to mention, but as of finishing this script, which I'm very late to, by the way, sorry about that, a lot of people are coming around to Marathon. I've seen more than enough tweets of people taking back what they said about the game after genuinely giving it a chance. Again, I'm not blaming anyone for their initial reactions, by the way. I was just as skeptical when the game was first announced. Besides, these are definitely not the worst when it comes to the haters online. I just think that we should blame the fat cats for pushing microtransactions into games, half-baked titles, and of course all the dead live service games. I got him. I got the fucking bug. I got the goddamn bug. I didn't. He's free. He's free. It's not the devs' fault. It's these greedy fucks that want your cash. Enjoy things for what they are, and be happy for a game's success. Even if it's small at first and slow to grow, every game brings something unique to the table, and I think we can all appreciate that. Unless it's Fallout 76. Anyways, thanks for watching, and as always, take care, gamers.